it's like my little R2D2 is like walking with me all the time, like ask, hey, what do you think I should do here? Can you do this for me very quickly? And it's just like it does it for you.
Bottom line, what can AI do for your creative? Hello and welcome to Growth Masterminds, the podcast for growth marketers. My name is John Koetsier. Hey, not a secret, right? AI is literally everywhere these days, but many growth marketers are wondering, hey, am I maximizing its potential? To find out, we're going to chat with the founder and CEO of an app marketing agency with clients like TikTok and Playrix, who has gone all in on AI. His name is Hagop Hagopian, and his company is Appvertiser. Welcome, Hagop.
Hey, John. Good to be here.
Good to have you. And I just got to say, your parents had a sense of humor. I mean, or they lacked creativity. It's like, hey, we have a name. Let's just use it and use it and use it, right?
They were planning for this to make it a lot easier for everybody to know like how to pronounce. If you get my first name right, then you can easily get the last name.
That's awesome. I can hardly be one to point fingers or throw stones. I live in a glass building. My name is unpronounceable. Nobody can spell it. So it's all good. So we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. We're going to talk about AI. We're going to talk about creative quality with AI. We're going to talk about creative quantity with AI. We're going to talk about testing, which ramps up orders of magnitude harder because maybe you're actually creating orders of magnitude more creative. Talk about the cost for that and how to manage all of it, all that stuff. Before we dive into that stuff, could you run your agency today without AI?
The short answer, no. I think
Wow.
it's already in us, like in our day to day, that it's really impossible without it in a way. Like I'm afraid of like how fast we got into this to a point where it's like, where are we going after this? Like I sometimes ask my chef, are we gonna be like, sorry to say that, are we gonna be dumber as we get into this more? Because but on the positive side, it's really game changer. Like it helped us from operations, like
Mm-hmm.
it's helping us save up on time.
Mm-hmm.
Time is money in today's world. And it's also, in a way, it's kind of like making us smarter. You know what I mean? Like it's giving you the ideas, the directions that you might have not thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's kind of like makes you, aha, actually I should try this, I should test that, right? So the bottom line is, yeah, I think in today's world it's not like we we're very deep into the AI zone, so it's really hard for us to say no. Of course the technology is like, if we start asking like, is it there, is it like fully automation, can it do all my job? Definitely not. So the way I always give it as a good example is like bringing it from the Star Wars. It's like my little R2D2 is like walking with me all the time, like ask, hey, what do you think I should do here? Can you do this for me very quickly? And it's just like it does it for you. It's like your assistant in your day to day.
Yeah. I find the same. I could probably live without it, but I wouldn't want to. And it's good to have it. I really like your perspective on that. That's pretty cool. So maybe one more before we dive into the meat of the podcast.
Yeah.
If you're advising growth marketers, there's kind of two ways to go, right? You
Hmm.
can buy tools or you can adopt platforms. Like there's a lot of open source stuff out there and you can kind of build it, right? So what do
Yeah.
you suggest? Buy it or build it?
Yeah. From a business operational perspective and decision making, if you are unaware of or unsure of like how much this tool can help you, do not go into building it right away, because building it internally, it costs a lot of money and resources, and building products is not easy. That's why it takes years and years until you master it. So therefore, I would say if you have a product out there that's related to AI, tested it out there,
Mm,
see if it actually helps you out as a business, for your department, whether it's the creative, the marketing, the ASO. And once you see that, okay, this is good, now ask the question yourself, if I build it internally, what value it can bring versus continue using this tool that's out
mhm,
there available. So
mhm.
at the end of the day, it comes down to like what's like more valuable for you. It's like if you can build something a lot more smarter, a lot more like adding your touch to it, like your expertise to it, then definitely that's the direction you want to go to. But starting first, just try it out there first to see if it really adds value to your business.
Yeah, and the tough thing about build is it's not just a one-time thing, right? Build
No.
is always exciting, but maintenance sucks. and,
Yeah,
and then, the world of AI is so crazy and exploding right now. There's always something new. Like literally every couple of
exactly.
minutes, there's something new. There's Hugging Face, other places where they detail all the new stuff that's coming out, right? And you could build something, invest months and months, and then you know what? Oh shoot, that came out. Wow.
Exactly. And in our industry, like with growth marketing, is like I feel like that's like it's becoming every month or every week. It's like there's
hmm
a new beta comes out, or this new feature that Google adds or TikTok adds to the platform. So now it's like reset. We got
Yeah.
to do it again, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, fingers work now, or that sort of thing. Exactly. Okay, let's dive in. So I want to talk about quality of creative and
Mhm.
AI. And of course, that's been a journey, right? I mean, we've been on the journey with AI literally for decades, but
Yep.
s- honestly, in terms of growth marketers using it on a day-to-day basis, in terms of creative and other things like that, it's been a couple years, right? And there's been
Correct.
an evolution there through those couple years that's been mind blowing, right? Where you see generative AI from 3, 4 years ago and it's pixelated and it's blocky. There's obvious issues with it. And you see that it grows every 3, 6 months or something. And you see some things today that are just literally mind blowing and amazing, incredible. Talk about what AI can do for creative quality.
Yeah. So from our perspective, talking particularly about quality, and when we say quality in user acquisition ads or creatives, it's essentially is like a creative that performs. Like
Yes, it's not in the art gallery, but
yes,
it's selling.
exactly. It's not we're not making it for the museum. It's we're making it for this user to click on it, to convert, to become a paying user, right? So from that perspective, it's like what I mentioned, these are factors that the AI not necessarily in a place that it knows. So for example, if I tell to AI, hey, from Sensor Tower, I see these competitors are have these creatives and it's performing the best for them, go and create something similar for me. AI is not there yet, right? So however, what AI is doing in today's world for us, it's actually helping us to get to that point where we say, aha, I created that creative that's really performing well. How? I look at it from two perspectives. One is from operational standpoint, operational being things like helping us create a script, making multiple iterations of the creative. It could do analysis for you. It can give insights of saying, hey, in your creative, I see you're using a lot of these color. Your competitor is using these. So it's like very basic stuff that could help you give additional hand that will help you get to that the main point. The second factor is generation, right? Like AI with creative generative, there are some tools that you could use that could really help you add a couple of tweaks, whether it's like a small script in the video or a specific part of an image that you are using. You can use that the tools that are available out there to create some of the images or the specific pixels as you mentioned in the videos. However, these are not necessarily saying, oh, it's the final product that it created for me. So in terms of like tools that are out there that I would say we really like or we're really enjoying it from both the operational sides. So one being the TikTok Symphony for TikTok ads creation. We've been using it a lot lately. It's actually really good in like creating script, providing insights, doing real time trend analysis, quality analysis. So it's really giving us that additional, let's call it the brain, that's helping that creative designer on selecting the right direction with the creative. On the generative side of things, from video tools, one of them is, I think if I'm pronouncing it right, Pika. It's like Pika.
Yes.
It's good for like creating some hooks with the video. The other one, Runway, for like realistic video creation. These are really high quality, like I would say, like from the video perspective. But of course, like these tools is not always applicable for every category. Like gaming, it doesn't get it right, like because there's the game feature, gameplay mechanics. Like, however, if you're like, let's say, an e-commerce brand or something like that, then it might be like easier to merge and create these tools. And then of course, last but not least, like GPT, right? Like with GPT, of course, I'm talking about the Pro. There's a lot of plugins that could use to add to your creative department that could support you, such as like Q&Aing about your creative, asking, is this correct or this bad? Like based on the research that you've seen that I fed you with, am I going in the right direction? So it's kind of like that R2D2 that I mentioned about, but here it's more like it's giving you the right direction on the creative side.
I like that a lot. I like that a lot. And runway.ml, I mean, they've done some amazing things, some
Amazing.
videos that are coming out there, just absolutely cinematic, incredible,
Yeah.
right? Which is probably beyond the quality that you need. It's interesting with ChatGPT as well. You can use that in various modes. I've heard people say Claude is really good. Like I use ChatGPT often for data analysis,
Yep.
and I always double check 2 or 3 data points that it does. I still find issues from time to time, right? I
Yeah.
still find issues from time
It's
to time.
common.
I've heard Claude does really well for that as well. So maybe that's something that I need to check out also. But I appreciate some of the tools that you brought up. That's awesome and that's cool. You also are using AI for quantity. And that speaks to
Yeah.
your comment. Look, I'm not trying to create the Mona Lisa here.
Yeah.
I'm trying to create something that will induce a click, create a conversion, find a buying or paying user, player, customer, right? Talk about quantity.
Yeah. In regards to quantity, I think AI is at 200% at this point. And why I say that, because we got to a point where we ended up developing our own internal tools that helping us create multiple iterations with like a click of a button. So if I may, do you mind if I share my screen sort
Go
of
for it.
Okay, perfect. So basically, what we did is we created three tools. First one of them, it's called Screen Generator. Basically, what Screen Generator does is it takes literally screenshots from
Mm.
videos. It adds watermarks, logos, CTAs, and then basically what it's doing is like taking this one simple video that we have 30 seconds, and it's just creating multiple versions of an images that it could be used in user acquisition as static images or for screenshots. So here's an example. Like on the left, you could see the video ad that we have, and
Mhm.
then on the right side, you see all the different iterations that you can create with this by adding the logo, adding different backgrounds with it, and all of this is just literally happening with a click of a button. Um,
It's
yeah,
amazingly hard actually to get a good screenshot. You think it's the simplest thing in the world, and then you try and do it on a video of your own, and then half the time I'm like, or like a weird expression or something like that. So having something that does it quickly, and then you just pick the ones you like, that can be helpful.
it's very helpful. It's literally saving our creative designers the amount of time, and they're using their power and energy to be more strategic, to be more creative, and spend less of their energy on like that manual operational process, if that makes
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
sense. Yeah. The second one, it's static multiplier, we call it. Basically, what it's doing is that we're inputting multiple selection of information, information being like raw assets here, such as background, a CTA, specific image, and then what this tool is doing is like putting everything together and then just shuffling things around. But of course, it's shuffling based on the rules that we taught it. The rules meaning that the UA rules, the performance rules. We don't want it to create uh, uh, iterations that are meaningless for us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it knows, for example, like where the CTA has to be. It knows that the CTA has to be really big. Don't use too much text. Text should only be 20% of the image. Focus more on the main product that you're selling. So these were the rules that we taught, and then it creates the multiple iterations. So this is basically like what I talked about, like teaching the tool like these are the main factors that you want to focus on. And then with that, it just creates multiple iterations. So here's one example of like one puzzle game that we did. It essentially like with one click we created 27 different static images.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's another example as well. This one was like in less than 1 hour, we did 100 static images, whereas historically it would have taken a lot more time.
Mm-hmm.
And if I show like the final version of those, were some of those creatives that AI it's literally generated for us.
So they look pretty good. I mean, they don't look like they were hacked together. They don't look like somebody who didn't know what they're doing or an AI that was totally incompetent put them together.
Yeah. But John, I mean, it took us time to get there, right? Like we, in the beginning, the tool did not work. Like it wasn't there. So it's like with AI, always remembering that's like, you gotta help it. It's kind of like that child that's like, you gotta feed the child to grow, you know? So it's like, it's the same thing with AI, with AI models. You gotta
Mm-hmm.
always feed, educate, and make the directions, the tweaks. If you're coding and your code is like not working, then you gotta change that code again until it gets to that point where you feel like, aha, it finally got it. I'm really loving the results.
I think those guardrails that you're putting up around what the generative AI will build are absolutely critical. I was trying to do something literally last week for a post that I was doing for Singular, and it was about multiple different countries and what was going on with programmatic mobile
Yep.
advertising. And so I simply asked ChatGPT, because of course it has access to various different image generation models in it. And I said, hey, give me an image with these 6 countries' flags. And the first one was pretty good. And I tried to iterate and refine on it. I got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. I ended up using the first one. And, that's just a very general model to do a lot of different things. So you've taken some probably open source software here, and then you've
Yep.
trained it and you put some guardrails around what it does so it does what you want it to do.
Exactly. You nail it on the dot. I think the direction that we will take is that like you can't just rely on like GPT on its own because it's very generic. So you got to go into like creating your, let's say, your own models, mini models within different departments or for different initiatives, and really enhance that model until it gets to a point where you feel comfortable with.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anything else to show before we move on?
Well, this is, I think, just the results, right? Like, I think it's just look how much time it used to take us before. Like, it would take literally 6 hours to create all these different 100 statics, and then it's like we're doing this only with just 1 hour. And
And who wants to be doing that? That's horrific work. That is like
right?
sweat house work, 1800s in the factory, 5-year-olds picking cotton from looms or something like that. It's awful work. Nobody wants to do. No, you will kill your employees. You will kill your creative people to make them work for 6 hours to create 100 static images with almost the same stuff, right? Nobody wants to do that.
Let's call that's outdated. You got to go this way, you know?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Cool.
I think the last tool, which is very similar to the static image creator, but it's the video tool that we built. So same concept as we go. So I won't go too much into the details, but essentially it's like it's really creating multiple variations by also like putting like saying the intro, the first 3 seconds, what are the most important factors that are for me. Then you have in the middle part the different scenes, and then the end card, like it knows like, okay, how I should, what type of end cards that I should use. So very similar concept to the static multiplier, but this is on the video side as well.
Video randomizer. I like the title there.
I know we haven't like this is we it's an internal naming.
I
We
know
got
it is what it's descriptor. It's a descriptor. It's
yeah. It sounds like somebody's like randomly doing something here, but it's actually it's AI. It's a high tech, you know. But yeah, I agree with you. The naming it's a catchy but cheesy at the same time.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Awesome. Okay, cool. So, let's talk about testing because that's super interesting. You've created 100 static images. You've created 20 videos, or maybe 50 videos, or maybe 1,000, depending on how many you wanted. I
Yeah,
don't know, and
yeah.
how many inputs you had, or something like that. Now you've got to go out in the real world and you've got to test them. And testing comes with costs, right?
Yes.
Obviously, there's costs in terms of actually running the ads that you're going to test different variants on, but the costs also come in uploading the multiple platforms. There's a whackload of data they generate,
Yep.
and you gotta analyze all that data so you know what works and everything like that. Maybe big picture, talk about that part before we dive into specifics on those costs.
Yeah. You were right to mention about like the cost factor and also about the UA cost. Like that's you can't ignore it. Like we still have to run the ads, right? Like there's no way or there's no hack on that angle that could say, oh, I saved 50% of my creative testing budget. However, I think the cost factor here, in my view, and where we're seeing the added value, it's also like the time saving. The same way
Mm-hmm.
we're saving time on like the creative development, we're saving time on the creative testing, getting the answers and pausing the whatever is not working and relaunching. So how we did that essentially. Oh yeah,
I'll just pause you for one sec there
yeah.
because I heard something from a marketer literally like last week or the week before, which also made sense on the costs of testing, and that is that not all testing costs are losses.
No.
Let's say you're testing and your average test result is, I'm just going to pull a number out of a hat, a 10% click through rate, right?
Mhm.
And I'm just talking upper funnel right now. Of course, we need to talk conversion rate, install rate, all that other stuff, but I'll just pick one metric. Your average in all your tests is 10%. Well, obviously, you want the ones that are doing 30% and not the ones that are doing 1%, but you're not losing money on
No.
testing on all of those creatives, just some of the really bad ones, which your platforms will weed out naturally anyway. So that does help a little with the test costs.
Exactly, you're exactly right, John. It's actually it's a learning for your creative team. Like your creative team can say, aha, there's something that's working here, but maybe my hypothesis of saying red background wasn't the right one. Let me try the same with a blue back, you know?
Mm-hmm,
So it's
mm-hmm.
like it's really information. Like there's like you absolutely right when you said that it's not a lost money at the end of the day. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
cool.
going back to like how like what's one way of like saving time on creative testing is what we did, John, was we took the Facebook ads API. Most of the time we're testing on Facebook ads and whatever learning we find on Facebook, then we take it to Google and other channels. Of course, I wouldn't necessarily say that's the best way to do it. I mean, it really depends on your product, what's your main channel that you want to focus on. But for us, in most cases, that's the one that's working. So we're sticking with that. So we took the Facebook API, we took GPT, we combined them together. And basically, what we did with GPT, we taught GPT like basic rules being like, okay, these are my 10 different creatives that I have. I'm going to set some rules for you. Rules being like minimum impression number should be 5K. CTRs in this range, CVR in that range, CPI here or there. And based on this information that I gave you, tell me which ones are good, which ones are bad. And then it automatically, just like with a click of button, it's like green, red, green, red. You'll
You're
see like
cheating. You're cheating. This is supposed to take hours and hours of hard labor or a tool like Singular.
and wait, we're cheating even more. So it's like at the end, it asks you, do you want me to take action? You click yes, it pauses everything that's red. So it pauses all the negative creative.
Wow.
So
Nice.
it's great. It's really great. But I think the caveat here, John, is like what we talked earlier is about like GPT is like very generic. Like it's just simple input and output. We put
Mhm.
these inputs to it because it's not taking other factors. So I think down the line, like building like an AI model or a brain that really understand this, that like without me putting the input, it could do those cheatings.
So you want to replace yourself. Wow.
We're getting there. I mean, it's like if you look at this, it's that's where the industry is going. So we got to innovate. We got to be on that
Mhm.
boat as fast as possible.
Crazy world that we are living in and building as we speak here. You shared, what you're saving with AI, and in
Yeah,
some cases, what took 6 hours and it takes 1 hour. That's
yeah,
amazing. You shared what you're capable of now that you weren't capable of before, creating all those iterations, and then actually automating the process of picking the winners and the losers, right? Identifying them and pausing them and all that stuff, which
yeah,
is really, really amazing. Okay, look into the crystal ball just a little bit, and maybe we won't recreate our own consciousness and have a little digital clone, digital human. I was at a conference where they were talking about digital humans recently, right? It's like, okay,
right.
maybe we won't get there in the next 6 months, but what do you see as some of the next steps for AI in growth marketing?
Yeah. I it's I have to admit, like I think we are we are forced, or we are getting to that point where we're creating the mini versions of us in our day-to-day work. So the direction that I think, if you're in it and you've been embracing it, learning it, and adapting this technology in your day-to-day, then that's the, like, you got to create your own models. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's where we're getting at, is that this past year and a half or 2 years, it was about, well, this is new to me, I'm learning about this, I'm touching it, feeling it. Now it's about, well, I have an idea, I think I know what I'm doing, now I should create my own
Mm-hmm.
being, like my own AI model that could really help me be a lot smarter in my day to day, and even save up on more. But the scary part is about, like, it could literally take my job. But I wouldn't say it in a negative way, taking a job. But I look at it from a positive perspective. Is that you saw it, John? Like how much time it takes for somebody just to do like creative the old way. Like, why not invest your energy, your brain, your resources on like strategy, next steps, come up with new concepts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for that reason, we're really investing in AI, and that's actually one of the secrets that I guess I could give a sneak peek about it, is that we're actually building our own AI model. Let's say our brain, essentially, that we do not want to rely on GPT or any of the other ones. So it's really our machine learning, the machine that is that we wanted to know how to run UA, how to
Mm-hmm.
do creative optimization, pausing campaigns, launching campaigns, know that you have 10 different channels, where to allocate my budget. So I guess like the Bidalgo or the Kensho or the Nanigans of the world, but now it's like it's smarter. There's a brain on top of it, which is like our own AI. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's a fear of like, oh shoot, my job is gonna be gone. I look at it as like, well, no, it's making me better. Like it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like you're going to the war with the best weapon in your hand in a way, So it's like now your chance
Cranked
of like,
up to 100. Exactly. Playing
so,
MLB with as Aaron Judge. Or
but yeah, I mean, it's embrace it. Don't
yeah.
don't be afraid of it. It's just of course it's gonna take you a lot more time. It's resources you gotta put into this and make investments. But at the end of the day, it's really worth it.
Well, the thing that I keep hearing is that AI may not take your job, but somebody using AI may. So, in other words, get on the train.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Hagop, this has been a lot of fun. I want to thank you for your
Likewise,
time.
appreciate it, John.